Because the Shabbat, the Baruch atah Adonai, Mikadosh, Amen.
You may be seated. We turn now to page 140 for Tov Lehodot. Mike, can you see the chat? Okay, people are saying that Noni's sound is breaking up. Is that still true, people on Zoom? The sound is not right? Yes, it is still true. Yeah. Okay. Please let me know in the chat if it's still Diane, can you hear me? Yes. Okay. Yes. Judith says my sound is also low. Are other people experiencing that? Okay. People are experiencing that as well. No, I think it was low also before, correct? You didn't even see what they were saying. They said your sound is low. Yes, extremely low. Your sound is also low.
Is my microphone, Tov, Tov, Tov Lehodot, Tov Lehodot, Tov Lehodot, Adonai, Osamer, Leshimachayot, 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 Tov Lehodot, Lehodot, Adonai, Lehagim, Limona, Elot, Tov, Tov, Tov Lehodot, Tov Lehodot L'Adonai, Tov, Tov, Tov Lehodot, Tov Lehodot L'Adonai.
Okay, so was that any better? A little. Sylvia says yes. Okay. Judith says yes. I think Diane is still having trouble. And now I
It was louder, but it keeps breaking up. It was louder, but it keeps breaking up and losing it.
What? Yeah. I'm sorry, Diane. I didn't hear what you said. I was distracted.
No, do what you have to do. I said it was louder, but it keeps breaking up and just losing the whole thing.
Okay.
Towards the end of the prayer, Noni wasn't breaking up as much.
Okay, so I'm sorry the sound is troubling us today. We're going to go ahead and continue now. Page 146 is the Baruch Hu. If you're able, I invite you to rise.
Baruch Adonai HaMevarach Le'olam Va'ed.
On page 148, I invite you to read with me. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tsevaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Baruch atah Adonai, Hama'ariv Aravim. Page 150. Everlasting love you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai, our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. The Shema is on page 152.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod, Kevod Malchuto, Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kevod, Kevod Malchuto, Le'olam Va'ed.
You may be seated.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, ובשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתיכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Adonai Elohechem Emet. On page 157, I invite you to read with me. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. Page 158.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, מלכותך רובנך בוקי היום, לפני משה ומרים צהליאנו ואומרו, אדוני מלוך, אדוני מלוך, לעולם ועד.
Page 160. ותקננו בעצה טובה מלפניך, והושיענו למען שמך. Page 162 is Vishamru.
וישמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. בני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת וינפש.
The tefillah begins on page 164. If you're able, I invite you to rise.
אדוני שפתי תפתח ופי אגיד תהילתך. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Eloheinu, Elohe Avraham, Elohe Yitzchak, Elohe Yaakov, Elohe Sarah, Elohe Rivka, Elohe Rachel, Elohe Leah, Ha'el HaGadol HaGibor VeHanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Bekonei HaKol, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר, מושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, וחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע. משיב רוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומק נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לישני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומדומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
You may be seated. Page 173. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day, and may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Page 174.
Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu b'yamacha Yisrael, ותפילתם באהבה תקבל, ותהי לרצון תמיד, ותהי לרצון תמיד, עבודת ישראל עמך. אל קרוב לכל קורב, אל קרוב לכל קורב, פני אל עבדך וחנינו, שפוך רוחך עלינו, ותחזינה עינינו, ושובך לציון ברחמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, המחזיר שכינתו לציון, המחזיר שכינתו לציון.
Did I turn my mic on? No. We have come to Modim on page 177, our prayer of gratitude. And it is our custom to share things that we're grateful for. So on Zoom, you can put that in the chat if you choose, or tell us out loud. And here in the room, of course, you'll also tell us out loud. Diane Schenker.
Diane Schenker is grateful for a wonderful family that
don't leave me alone for 5 minutes because they're always checking on me. And while I sound like I'm not grateful, I am so grateful. And they just don't know what to do for me first.
Amen. That's wonderful. Charlotte Russell says she is grateful for the beautiful music tonight. And I'm grateful that Michael Rose is here tonight to fix the music so that people can hear it. Who else is grateful today? Helene. Oh, that's good news. Helene is grateful that her friend Jane was able to get out and have lunch, and they had a decent conversation. Linda Kushner-Silverman.
I'm extremely grateful that being in NYU Lutheran Hospital, which is a hellhole, that I had the gumption to leave the emergency room and felt really good about it. Thank you.
Okay, I feel like there's more to that story, and I'll say Modim Anachnu Lach, and I'll talk to you later.
Thank you.
Mary Lou.
I'm grateful for Michael Rose as well, and this technology that keeps us all connected. Thank you, me being 3,000 miles away instead of just down the street. And I'm grateful that we have sunshine today and a little bit warmer weather. 59 degrees is our high, which is about 10 degrees below our normal high. And I'm grateful that we survived our 12th atmospheric river, Erev.
All right. Amen.
Without too much damage here. So
Amen
thank
to
you.
all of that.
Thank you.
Let's see. Karen is grateful that she will spend time with her daughter next week and grateful that her great-nephew James is feeling better. Eslyn is thankful for the most celestial and soothing harmonies and triumphant proclamations expressed tonight in pipe organ sound, filling her with ineffable joy. And Sylvia is also grateful for the beautiful service.
I'm grateful for always for music, and that I am fortunate enough to participate in music in New York City, and was in a concert last night in Carnegie Hall where we did a very difficult piece by Richard Strauss, and Emily was singing with me, and we were on the stage of Carnegie Hall, and my wonderful, brilliant musician accompanist tonight was there to witness that, and that somebody like Alan, who's just an incredible pipe organist, if you get to hear him one day, is sitting here in our shul, and I think he's thrilled to be here, and it's making me feel really very happy and grateful. Very grateful.
Modim Anachnu Lach. Phyllis. All right. Phyllis is grateful for one of her aunts who is still with us and turned 98 last week. And were you with her? Oh, spoke with her, and she told about all of the family, and she's doing okay. All right. Patricia.
Shabbat Shalom. Yes, I'm glad it's a weekend, and I'm glad we have a nice weather, and hope everybody stays safe.
I'm into that as well. Mary Lou says, which Richard Strauss composition?
Oh boy, it was a one-act opera called Daphne. And,
there you
doesn't
go.
get to be performed too often with the epilogue. So look that up.
Yeah, she will. All right. Anything else? All right. I am grateful that it's getting dark an hour later. I know we hate putting the clocks forward, but I nonetheless love that it gets dark later. Page 177, if you would like to read with me. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth, which day by day sustains us. For all these and more, we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulecha na'el lehodot. Shalom Rav, our prayer for peace is on page 178.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amacha Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amacha Tasim Le'olam. Ki atahu melech Adon lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech Adon lechol hashalom. V'tov beinecha levarech et Amecha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. ברוך אתה אדוני המברך את עמו ישראל. Shalom.
We have come now to our quiet prayer. If you have a prayer book, there are words on pages 180 and 181. If you can see the screen, there are words on the screen, but we can always use the words that are in our own hearts. We continue quietly.
והגיון ליבי לפניך, לפניך. אדוני צורי, צורי וגואלי, אדוני צורי וגואלי. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, be acceptable to you. Lord, my rock and my redeemer, Lord, my rock and redeemer. Amen.
We turn our thoughts now to those among us and those in our hearts who are ill and who are in need of healing of body, of mind, or of spirit. If you're on Zoom and have names to add for anyone for whom you're praying for healing, you can put those names in the chat, and everyone will have an opportunity to add names out loud. We hold in our thoughts and in our hearts for healing this evening Dan Sasher, Ira Weiss, Allison Plummer, Rabbi Dara Lerner, Susan Sisler, Joellen Fox, Alan Fremer, Valerie Pace, George Landberg, Sarah Ratliff, Kenny Schweiger, Paul Gold, Leslie Hirsch, Joan Lifshitz, Amy Juskowitz-Soonseller, Deanna Roth, Jonathan Falkowski, Martha and Ed Vincent, Ingrid Grosso, Audrey Cohen, Eddie DeAngelis, Vicki Lightnaker, Nettie Trommer, Mia Gannon, Jeff Abel, Monica Bayer, Erwin and Patty Cohen, Deborah Kosman, Jeffrey Schwimmer, Grace Schneider, Liz Yasuda, Mark and Paul Steiner, Celia Karp, Anne-Marie Rogan, Marion Mandel, Sharon Zinn, Nicole Moskowitz, Evelyn Sten, Stephen Belay, Deborah Marcus, Mike Wenzelberg, Elliot Drucker, Fred Siegel, Linda Abramowitz, Janet Dankowitz, Katie Pandolfo, Ruth Cooper, Rotem Reich. Augustine Davis, Damian Colon, Jerome Taylor, Ed Robinson, Joanna Marie, Teresa O'Sullivan, Jimmy Jenkins, Chanel Kamabach, Julette Dale, Maureen Dale, Elena R.M., Warren Feliz, Sylvia Solva, DeAndre Wynn, Jennifer Magoob, Sarah West, Tamia Bethia Williams, Stacy and David Mauser, Hannah Paynes, Arlene Kakulis, Judith Weiss, Sarah Bard, Joy Ojan, Merle Paisley, Larry Perro, Jonathan Dash, Maureen Dash, Carolyn Dash, Lainey and Larry Vinico, Jeannie Green, Zizi Potsdam, Susan and Tony Vi, Alberto Torres and family, Estelle Altork, Brenda McBasey, Brenda Katroser. Linda Kushner-Silverman?
Jackson and Tara Kushner, Carol and Stevie Doppelt, Phyllis Benjamin, Shelley Samet, Lavana Tenon, David Gershon, and Millie and Israel Yashami. Thank you.
Baby James Scarpola, Pat Flood, Roz Nadell, Amy Langer, George Riddler, Nancy Kelly. Anyone else on Zoom have names to add? Okay, folks in the room, if you'd like to rise or raise your hand. Freema? Debbie? Mona? Janice? Alan? Mike? We include also all of those suffering from COVID-19, those who have been wounded in service to our country or Israel, and those who have been hurt in recent disasters, including human-created disasters like the ongoing wars and conflicts in so many parts of the world, including the Ukraine and Afghanistan and Syria, and those who have been harmed in terrorist attacks in Israel and also in natural disasters. Our Misha Berach is on page 371 in the middle of the page.
Misha Berach Avotinu, Kara HaBracha, Ve'imotenu, may the source of strength who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing and let us say Amen. Mi sheberach imotinu v'torah habracha lavotinu, bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. So I have a favorite novel. It's hard to choose a favorite, but I do have a favorite, and my favorite is Good Omens by Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett. I came across it in a bookstore in college shortly after it had been released. It was still in hardback, so this would have been, it would have been published in the late 80s or the very beginning of the 90s. And the premise of the book is kind of Christian in that it's premised on the idea that the Antichrist has come and therefore the end of the world is nigh. And of course, the idea of an Antichrist is not a Jewish idea. But the way the book sees people is very much in line with the way that Judaism sees people. Because the rest of the premise of the book is that the Antichrist comes, but no one knows he's the Antichrist. The representatives of heaven and hell lose track of him and therefore are unable to influence him, and so he grows up like a regular human. And the book explores what happens as a result. It's also incredibly funny if you like British humor. So funny. One of the main themes of Good Omens is that people, because they have free will and imagination, are capable of greater evil than any demon in hell could ever come up with, another Christian concept, and greater good than any angel in heaven, and that the same person could do both. And that's also similar to the way Judaism sees people. Good and evil are inside of each of us, and we make choices every day, all the time, that determine which will prevail in that moment. Our choices are influenced by our parents, our teachers, our friends, our life experiences. Our sages believe that good and evil can become habitual. When the Torah tells us that God hardened Pharaoh's heart, the story we're going to tell at our Seder tables in just a week and a half, the Pharaoh of the Exodus, of course, is one of the paradigms of evil in our texts. And our great Rabbi Maimonides points out that after each of the first 5 plagues, Pharaoh hardens his own heart. It's only after the 6th plague that God hardens Pharaoh's heart. What we learn from this, says Maimonides, is that at the beginning, we have a free choice between good and evil. But if we keep choosing one of them, it becomes easier and easier to keep choosing that one. And Pharaoh got in the habit of choosing evil until he couldn't do anything else. Now, sometimes we don't choose evil on purpose. We're just thoughtless, or we mean well and it goes wrong, or we just made a mistake. The poem that we talked about just before the service was by Marge Piercy, and she talked about how we can do harm to others as easy as a mudslide. And just imagine, being on the side of a muddy hill and your foot slips and slides down, and how hard it is to climb back up once you've slid down into that mud. One of the things I love about Judaism is that our tradition recognizes this. It recognizes that we don't choose evil on purpose so much of the time. We are human and we are going to make mistakes. And our Torah portion this week, Vayikra, the first Torah portion of the book of Leviticus, addresses this. Vayikra describes the procedure for 5 types of sacrifices in excruciating detail. The olah, or burnt offering, the mincha, or meal offering, the zevach shlemim, sacrifice of well-being, the chatat, the sin offering, and the asham, the guilt offering. You remember when we sing Ashamnu? That's Asham. We are guilty. The Torah's passages describing how to do animal sacrifice are perhaps among the most alienating in the Torah, the most foreign to us today. After all, the vast majority of Jews stopped sacrificing animals almost 2,000 years ago when the temple was destroyed. All this blood and slaughter, what can it possibly have to say to us today? Our method of atonement has definitely changed, but our need for atonement hasn't, not at all. So if we look beyond the mechanics of how the ancient Israelites could achieve atonement, we find that they needed to seek it because they sometimes transgressed God's laws without realizing they were doing it. They needed to seek it because sometimes they did harm to other people. They needed to seek it because they made mistakes. We also find in our Torah portion that it specifically addresses transgressions by the people as a whole, transgressions by individuals, transgressions by leaders, and transgressions by priests. From this, we learn that the Torah is very clear that no matter who you are in society, no matter who you are in a community, no matter how important you are going to find yourself needing to atone for something. While this might not be as desirable, it is expected because we're all human. We also learn from our Torah portion that atonement, in whatever form we do it, needs to be available to everyone. So we're told that if a person cannot afford to bring a sheep for a sin offering, the person should bring 2 birds. And if the person cannot afford 2 birds, the person should bring a meal offering. We don't see any discussion that goes, just because I'm rich and someone else is poor, why do I have to offer a sheep when they only have to bring some grain for their offering? Rather, the Torah recognizes that there is income inequality, and those who are able are expected to give an offering of greater value, while those who have less give according to their means. Neither of the offerings is considered less effective, which is important. There is equality as well as equity. We also learn in our Torah portion that when a human being does harm to another human being, atonement is not completed by making an offering to God. Restitution must also be made to the other person. In fact, it must be done first. We mostly talk about this at Yom Kippur time, but it appears in this week's Torah portion about sacrifices. We read at the end of the Torah portion, when a person sins and commits a trespass against Adonai by dealing deceitfully with another in the matter of a deposit or a pledge, or through robbery, or by defrauding another, or by finding something lost and lying about it, if one swears falsely regarding any one of the various things that someone may do and sin thereby, when one has thus sinned and, realizing guilt, would restore either that which was gotten through robbery or fraud, or the entrusted deposit, or the lost thing that was found, or anything else about which one swore falsely, that person shall repay the principal amount and add 1/5 to it. One shall pay it to its owner upon realizing guilt. Then that person shall bring to the priest as a penalty to Adonai a ram without blemish from the flock or the equivalent as a reparation offering. The priest shall make expiation before Adonai on behalf of that person, who shall be forgiven for whatever was done to draw blame thereby. Here and in the rest of our Torah portion, we see that the Torah assumes that people want to make amends for their mistakes, for their sins. It assumes that people want to turn away from evil and make a habit of doing good, part of which is atoning for sins. In assuming that, it is encouraging and reinforcing that behavior. While we don't do animal sacrifice anymore, We still clearly need, and I think want, to atone for our mistakes and misbehavior as part of a life guided by the ethics and morals of our tradition, a tradition that encourages us to use our free will to bolster the good in ourselves and to control the evil that is also part of each of our potential. Our rabbis refer to these two forces inside of us as the Yetzer HaTov and the Yetzer HaRa, the good inclination and the evil inclination. Without animal sacrifice, we can still make amends and make restitution when we do harm to another person. We speak about this explicitly at Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, but it is our responsibility all year round, as our Torah portion makes clear. To get straight with God, our rabbis specifically instituted prayer to take the place of animal sacrifice. Sacrifice, which used to be an animal provided to a priest who actually performed the act of sacrificing the animal on the person's behalf, is now squarely in our own hands. There is no one between us and God, no one who makes expiation on our behalf. When we say our prayers of gratitude or of supplication or asking for forgiveness or recognizing our responsibility, it is between each one of us and God, in whatever way we understand that word God. And it is up to each of us to pray regularly, just as the ancient Israelites sacrificed regularly, so that prayer can become a practice that brings us closer to God. Because the word for sacrifice in the Torah, korban, has the same root as karov, which means near. A sacrifice is a way of drawing closer to God. And prayer, which has replaced sacrifice, is the way we have of drawing closer to God. It's not easy, and regular prayer requires discipline, perhaps also sacrifice in our modern understanding of the word. May we be inspired to draw nearer to God through our prayer and our study, through our relationships and the choices we make to do good instead of evil. Amen and Shabbat Shalom.
We sing Esa Enai, I lift my eyes up to the mountains. What is the source of my help? My help will come from the Lord, maker of heaven and earth. Esa Enai el hiharim mi'ayin yavo Ezri mi'im Adonai oseh shamayim shamayim ba'aretz al yitim lamot raglecha al yanum shomaricha hine lo yanum velo yishon shomai Yisrael Adonai shomerecha Adonai tzilcha al yad yeminecha Yomam hashemesh lo yakecha מכל רע, ישמור את נפשך. אדוני ישמור צאתך ובואך מעתה ועד עולם.
The Elenu begins on page 586. If you're able, I invite you to rise.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסר ארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינת עוזו בגופי מרומים, הוא אלוהינו יעמוד. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד.
You may be seated. We turn our thoughts now to those who are no longer with us, our loved ones who have died in the past days or weeks or months or in past years at this time of the year. I'm sharing our yahrzeit list to the screen. That's for the coming week. Those of you who are here in person have that list in your bulletin. If you're on Zoom and you are saying the mourner's Kaddish for someone and you'd like to put their name in the chat, please do, and everyone will have a chance to add names out loud. We remember those who have died in the past year. Lila Fox, Diane Keston's mother, who was buried today. She'll be sitting Shiva, I think, Sunday through Tuesday if people want to pay a Shiva call. There was an email about it. Zelda Klein, Dr. Usha Gorty, Elliot Woofsey, Carol Davis, Jerry Prezioso, Charles Dantrone, Murray Schechter, John Honan, Dottie Weiss Bickman, Harold Shepard Jr., Eva Braxmajer, Madeline Hyatt, Ed Friedman, Ronald Homan, Erwin Bernstein, Shirley Amrani, Harry Goldberg, Lisa Friedman, Eleanor Teplitz, Patricia Christensen, Thea Platt Glasser, Sharon Cooper, William Fritz, Bernard Cohen, Lucy Palazzolo, Blair Ford, Shlomo Nakash, Arlene Scher, Abraham Finkel, Ron Cricky, Mimi Karp, Rochelle Rolnick, Elaine Drucker, Matthew Brunner, Maddie Rosenbaum, Myron Jacobson, Lester Schenker, John Belay, Marianne Chinsky. Included on our yard site list today are Mark Koser, remembered by Roz Baylor, William Kosman, Deborah Kosman's husband, Jacques Rosampique, Rosalind Baylor's brother, Samuel Rothman, Robert Rothman's father, Lee Schwartzman, Ruth Levine's aunt, Erwin Silverberg, Yvette Pomerantz's uncle, Esther Horowitz Silverman, remembered by Sam Silverman, Aaron Silverman, Sam Silverman's uncle, and Menachem Leib Tilken, Milton Platt's grandfather. Paul Markowitz, George Politis, Belle Radum, Pat Schroeder, Joan James. I can't tell which one of them is the congresswoman. Pat Schroeder was the congresswoman. Thank you. Charlotte?
From the yurt site list, I'm remembering Benjamin Crales, who was a very dear friend.
Thank you. If you're in the room and have names to add, please rise or raise your hand. Freema? Alan? Ron? That same Aaron Silverman? Sam's uncle. All right. Helene? Oh, he was also a vice principal at Murrow. Patricia Matthews is remembering Thelma Matthews, her mother. And Eslin is confirming that it was Congresswoman Pat Schroeder, and she was a family friend. Anyone else on Zoom have names to add? And Michael Rose? Yes. Anyone else?
I have to mention, I won't be here next week. My father's yard site is this week, and Cedric Schuster, and he was the most beautiful human, and I don't know how we got the name Cedric, but all his brothers and sisters called him Sooty, so his name was Sooty, and his Hebrew name was Tzaddik, and he was truly a righteous, good dad. And 30 years already since he passed away when Aaron was 1, and Aaron's 31. So always missed every day. My beautiful dad.
Thank you. We include also all of those who have died from COVID-19. We include those who have died in war, famine, terror, disaster, or alone and homeless on the streets of our cities. The Mourner's Kaddish is on page 598. I invite you to rise if you're able and join in, or to participate according to your own custom. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, ve'alma divrach yirteh v'yamlich malchuteh, v'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayeh dechol beit Yisrael, v'agala u'v'zman kariv v'yimru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevorach leolam u'lalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei dekudesha b'richu. La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to the bereaved wherever they may be. And let us say, Amen.
Amen.
You may be seated. A few announcements before we conclude, and I am just looking also for our closing song, which is eluding me at the moment. I'll find it in a minute. First of all, thank you so much to Alan Montgomery for being here and playing the organ for us. Thank you to Noni Schuster-Donato. Thank you to Ron Schweiger for reading the Kiddush and for Frima for doing the blessing over the candles. Tomorrow at 9:45 a.m. is religious school. At 10 o'clock, we will have B'Yachad, and that will be in person and on Zoom. 11 a.m. Shabbat services in person and on Zoom. And this says 12:45, but I've been saying 1 o'clock. The point is, it's after services, after a decent interval. We're going to have a lunch and learn, and I'm going to tell you about my Israel trip more than I did last Friday night. So if you didn't RSVP, you can still come. I hope there will be enough food. We're getting Israeli food because I thought that would be fun. So come, have lunch, learn. Also at 1 o'clock until 4 o'clock is junior youth group. They're going to be playing games down in the banquet room. Monday is gentle chair yoga and gentle qigong with doctors Gail Levine Fried and Robert Fried. That's at 4 o'clock on Monday. Sign up on Eventbrite. On Thursday is Torah study with me on Zoom at 1 p.m. And Israeli dance is at 7:30, and that is in person. Tat Shabbat, 10 o'clock on Friday. So if you know any tots, send them along with their caregivers. April 1st, that's not this week, but next Saturday, is portable craft afternoon. So bring a craft that you do and hang out in the community room. You can bring snacks or lunch to share and hang out and do your craft. It's really super fun. We are having a second night Passover Seder. It will be on Thursday, April 6th, because that's the second night of Passover. And it is a kosher meal. It says $90 per adult and $45 per child 13 and under. But at Passover, aren't we all children with our questions and our learning? And so therefore, it's going to be $45 no matter how old you are.
What?
I know. $45, half off. So
But
if
I
you,
paid.
like you, if you've already paid for it, you will get a rebate. And if you haven't paid for it yet, you only have to pay $45. So that's going to be in person. It's not going to be on Zoom. In person, $45 for not only a kosher meal, but also a whole Seder. So that's not nothing. RSVP, though, by March 31st, so we know how much food we need to get. Save the date for our gala luncheon honoring past and present treasurers Helene Smith and Jennifer Tattenbaum. 12:30 p.m. on Sunday, June 11th at Gargiulo's restaurant, which is just delightful. Reservation forms and journal ad forms are in the lobby, or you can call the temple office. Are they on Shul Cloud, Michael Rose? For the luncheon. The links were in the weekly email to fill it out on Shul Cloud if you don't want to deal with the paper. They were put on Zoom. They were put on Facebook yesterday. Fundraiser event, 3:00 p.m. on May 20th. The Regina Opera Company presents the student prince at Our Lady of Perpetual Help. I think that's Perpetual Help.
Perpetual.
6th Avenue in Brooklyn, $30 for adults, $10 for kiddos. You have to pay by May 5th. Okay, anything else? Mona. April 11th, the 7th night Seder of the Women of Beshert, which is a women's Seder, but men can come too. Everyone is invited. How much does it cost? $18. It's a dessert Seder, so there's not a full meal with it. Eat before you come. But leave room for delicious desserts, or just have dessert for dinner.
Yes.
No one's going to tell. Okay. So we are going to close with Adon Olam, right? Right? Right. And I'm just going to quickly find it, I hope. What? Page 625. There it is.
Adon Olam Hashem Malach B'terem kol yitzin nivra V'yitnasa v'chepso
You're welcome to rise if you're able.
Shemo nikra Be'acharei kichlot hakol Levado yimloch nora V'hu haya v'hu hoveh V'hu yeh b'tifara V'hu echad ve'en sheni Lahamashil lo lehakbira Beli reshit beli tachlit B'lo ha'oz v'ha'nisra V'hu eli v'chai go'ali V'tzochev li b'yitzara V'hu nisi u'manos li Menot kozi b'yom ekra B'yado afkid ruchi Adonai li v'lo yira.
Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichuneka. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God bless you and keep you. May God's face shine on you and be gracious to you. May God lift God's face toward you and give you peace. Amen. And before we go across to the oneg, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom, everybody. Have a wonderful evening.
Shabbat shalom. How was your week, Rabbi?
It was good, thank you. How was yours?
It was good. It was really good, busy, you know. And we're getting some nice weather now too, which is great. Love
Yes.
it. Yeah. Give my regards to
Thanks,
Shoshi.
Wolf.
I miss having some of those buns from her.
Sure.
All right, my dear. Take care.
Bye-bye, Wolf.